I'm about to show you something that sounds impossible. 1 cup of a cheap powder mixed into a gallon of water, sprayed across your whole lawn, and every broadleaf weed dies. Dandelions, clover, plantain, chickweed. Dead within 48 hours. And the grass? The grass gets greener, not burned, not thinned, not damaged. Greener, thicker, darker, like you just fed it the best meal of its life. This isn't clickbait. This is chemistry. The stuff costs $3 to $5 for a bag that lasts all season, and you've walked past it at the garden center 100 times. The lawn care industry sells you the same result for 10 times the price. But before I tell you what it is, you need the science first. Because if you skip this part and just start spraying, you could actually damage your lawn. And I don't want that. Let's talk about weeds for a second. Why are they so hard to kill? Here's the thing. They're not. Killing weeds is easy. Boiling water kills weeds. Vinegar kills weeds. Salt kills weeds. You could walk outside right now with a pot of water from your kitchen, pour it on a dandelion, and it'd be dead by tomorrow. That's not the problem. The problem is killing the weed without killing the grass standing right next to it. That's the whole game. That's what makes selective weed control so hard and so expensive. Most store weed killers work one of two ways. The first kind kills everything it touches. So you're out there on your knees, dabbing each weed one at a time with a little sprayer, and it takes all afternoon. The second kind uses a synthetic chemical like 2,4-D that targets broadleaf plants on purpose. Those actually work. But they run you $20 to $40 a bottle. They're full of stuff you might not want on your lawn. And the industry has spent decades convincing you that you need their exact branded version. But there's a third option, one that's been around for over a century. One that groundskeepers at golf courses have used quietly for decades, that costs pennies per application, and uses a mineral your grass actually needs. It's called ferrous sulfate. You'll also see it labeled iron sulfate or iron 2 sulfate. At the garden center, it might be sitting on the shelf as moss killer or lawn iron. Same powder, different name. Cheap, powerful, and it's been hiding in plain sight the whole time. Here's how it works. And this is the part that blew my mind when I first learned it. Ferrous sulfate is basically concentrated iron. Dissolve it in water, spray it on your lawn, and two things happen at the exact same time. Thing one, the broadleaf weeds get hit with a massive dose of iron through their leaves. Look at a dandelion, a clover, a plantain, a creeping Charlie. Wide, flat leaves, big surface area. They soak up that iron solution like a sponge. And at this concentration, the iron overwhelms them. Their cells can't handle it. Within 24 to 48 hours, they turn black and die. Thing two, your grass is a monocot. That just means it grows in narrow, upright blades instead of wide, flat leaves. Small surface area, big root system underneath. So the grass absorbs some iron, but nowhere near enough to hurt it. And the little it does take in, it uses it. Iron is essential for chlorophyll, the stuff that makes plants green. So while the weeds are dying, your grass is literally getting fed. It goes darker, healthier. The exact same spray that kills one plant nourishes the other. This is not a hack. This is not a trick. This is plant biology. Broadleaf weeds and grass respond to iron in completely opposite ways, and ferrous sulfate exploits that difference perfectly. So if it's this effective and this cheap, why doesn't everyone use it? Why is the lawn care industry still selling you $40 bottles of synthetic weed killer? The answer is the same answer it always is: money. There's no profit in a $5 bag of iron sulfate. You can't build a billion-dollar empire on a product that costs pennies to use and that people only need to buy once or twice a year. The money isn't in the powder. It's in the branded sprays, the subscription programs, the 4-step annual treatment plans that run you $200 and keep you coming back every single spring. Ferrous sulfate doesn't have a marketing department. It doesn't need one. It just works. And if you've been dropping $30, $40, $50 on weed killer every year and you're still out there fighting the same dandelions every spring, this is why. You've been buying the expensive solution to a cheap problem. So subscribe to this channel right now. I mean it. Because every video I put out is built to save you money on your lawn by showing you what actually works, not what the industry wants you to buy. No sponsors, no affiliate links, no product deals, just what works. And do me a favor, drop a comment and tell me what weed is driving you crazy right now. Dandelions? Clover? Crabgrass? I want to know what you're up against. Okay. Let's talk application, because the ratio matters. Get this wrong and you'll either waste product or stress your grass. The formula: 1 cup of ferrous sulfate powder per gallon of water. That's it. 1 cup, 1 gallon. Dissolve it all the way. Stir until the water turns a dark amber color and there's no powder sitting at the bottom of the bucket. A gallon of solution covers about 200 to 300 square feet, depending on how heavy you spray. For a typical front yard, you're looking at 3 to 4 gallons. Bigger property, scale it up from there. Pour it into a pump sprayer. Not a hose end sprayer, those don't give you enough control over the concentration. A pump sprayer. The $15 kind from any hardware store. Set the nozzle to a fine mist. Not a stream, not a jet. A fine, even mist. You want the solution coating the leaves evenly, not pooling up and dripping off. Then walk, slowly, in even sweeps across the whole lawn. And here's the beautiful part: you don't target individual weeds. You spray everything. The weeds die, the grass gets fed. You're not crouched over a spot sprayer for 2 hours. You walk your yard in 10 minutes and you're done. Timing matters too. Spray in the early morning or the late evening, never in the middle of a hot, sunny day. The solution needs time to sit on the leaves and soak in before it evaporates. Morning is best because the dew helps it stick. And here's a critical rule: do not water your lawn for at least 24 hours after you spray. No sprinklers, no hose. If there's rain in the forecast, wait for a dry window. The iron has to stay on those weed leaves long enough to be absorbed. Wash it off too soon, and the weeds live. Within 24 hours, you'll see the first signs. The weeds start to darken. Dandelion leaves curl inward and go brownish black at the edges. Clover gets dark spots and wilts. By 48 hours, most of the broadleaf weeds are visibly dead or dying. And your grass? Look at your grass. It's a deeper green than it was yesterday. Not neon, not some overnight miracle. Just noticeably darker and healthier. That's the iron doing its job, feeding the grass while it kills the things that were choking it. One application handles most active weeds. For a heavy infestation, you can do a second round 2 weeks later. But don't go past 3 applications in a season. Too much iron slowly drops your soil pH over time, and that creates a whole new set of problems. 3 times a year is the safe ceiling. Now let me tell you what ferrous sulfate does not kill, because this matters, and I'd rather be honest with you up front than have you come back disappointed. Ferrous sulfate is a broadleaf killer. Dandelions, clover, plantain, chickweed, henbit, creeping Charlie, ground ivy, daisy. The classic lawn weeds with wide, flat leaves. It wipes those out. What it does not reliably kill is grassy weeds. Crabgrass, goosegrass, quackgrass, annual bluegrass. Those grow in narrow blades, just like your lawn does. And that's the catch biologically. They're too similar to your good grass for the iron to tell them apart. So if your main enemy is crabgrass, ferrous sulfate alone won't win that fight. For that, you need a pre-emergent strategy, and I'll cover that in a future video. But if your lawn is full of dandelions and clover and plantain, this is your answer. It also kills moss. That's a bonus most people don't know about. Moss is extremely sensitive to iron. One application and it turns black within hours. If you've got shady spots where moss takes over every spring, this handles that too. Now, some warnings. Because I want this to work for you, and I want you doing it safely. Warning 1. Ferrous sulfate stains everything. Concrete, pavers, clothes, skin. The iron oxidizes the second it hits a hard surface and leaves rust-colored marks that are a nightmare to get out, so be careful around the edges of your lawn. Don't let the spray drift onto your driveway, your sidewalk, your patio, or your siding. If it does splash onto concrete, rinse it off immediately, within seconds, not minutes. Once it sets, that stain is there for months. Wear old clothes and gloves too, or your hands turn orange. It comes off your skin eventually, but it takes a couple of days. Warning 2. Keep pets and kids off the treated lawn until it's fully dry, which is usually 2 to 3 hours. Once it's dry, it's safe. Iron sulfate isn't toxic in the amounts you're using here, but wet solution on paws or bare feet can stain and cause mild irritation. Warning 3. Do not use this on a lawn where the soil pH is already below 6. Iron acidifies soil a little with every application, and if your soil is already acidic, more iron can push it below the range where grass thrives. So test your pH first. If you watched my last video, you already know how. $4 test kit, 5 minutes, non-negotiable. If your pH is above 6, you're good to go up to 3 times a season. Here's what happened when I first tried this on my own lawn. I had a front yard that was maybe 40% clover. Not the occasional pretty clover leaf here and there. Thick mats of white clover crowding the grass right out. I'd been pulling it by hand for 2 years. It just kept coming back. I tried vinegar once. It killed the clover, sure, but it torched the grass around it too and left brown patches everywhere. Then I learned about ferrous sulfate. 1 cup per gallon. I sprayed the whole front yard on a Saturday morning. Took me about 15 minutes. Sunday morning I walked outside and the clover was already turning dark. Black edges on the leaves. By Monday, it looked like someone had gone across my yard with a torch. Dead, brown, crispy. And the grass in between those clover patches greener than I'd seen it in years. Visibly, obviously greener. My wife actually asked if I'd fertilized. I hadn't. That was just the iron doing what iron does. Feeding the grass while it poisoned the weeds. 2 weeks later, the dead clover had broken down, and the grass had filled in the gaps on its own. No reseeding, no patching. The grass just spread into the open space because suddenly it had room and nutrients and nothing competing with it. Total cost? About $2 of powder out of a $5 bag. $2 to fix something I'd been fighting for 2 years. Let me put that in perspective. Over those 2 years, I'd spent about $30 on vinegar-based killer that burned the grass right along with the clover. Another $25 on a branded selective herbicide that worked okay but needed 3 rounds. And roughly $40 on a hand-weeding tool and a pair of knee pads back when I thought pulling it out by hand was the answer. Almost $100, and the clover was still winning. $2 of ferrous sulfate ended it in 48 hours. And as a bonus, my grass looked better than it had in 5 years. One more thing before I let you go. And honestly, this might be the most important thing in the whole video. Ferrous sulfate kills the weeds you've got. It doesn't stop new ones from showing up. If your neighbor's dandelions are sending seeds drifting into your yard every spring, you're going to keep getting dandelions. The iron handles what's already there. It doesn't build a wall. So how do you stop new weeds? You grow a lawn so thick and so dense that the seeds have nowhere to land and nothing to germinate into. A healthy lawn crowds weeds out before they ever get started. And that's exactly what we're building on this channel, video by video, layer by layer. The pH fix from last week, the weed kill from today. And next week, the mowing technique that makes your grass so thick that weeds can't even get a foothold. Each video connects to the last one. Miss one, and you're missing a piece of the puzzle. Put them together, and you've got a complete lawn care system that costs less than $20 a year and beats any professional service out there. So hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and tell me in the comments what's your worst weed right now. Post a picture if you can. I read every single comment, and I'll tell you straight up whether ferrous sulfate will handle it or whether you need a different approach. See you next week.